The penultimate episode of Landman Season 1 has just been released, and whilst this wasn't the most action-packed and event-filled episode, it was one which laid down the foundations of the deadly direction of the season finale, and also the second season of the show. Picking directly up after the National Guard killed a member of the Cartel in episode 8, we saw death being the core theme of this episode, with Tommy questioning his future and the risks that it posed for his family. So with that, let's dive into the episode and break down all that there was to take away from it. Here is Landman Episode 9, Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Tommy and Monty. Within this episode, we saw the death of a major character, Jon Hamm's Monty. We didn't see his death happen on screen, only his final moments as he had another heart attack. But when Tommy travelled over 600 miles to see him, there was a conversation that Monty had with Jerry, which clearly had a lasting impact on Tommy. It was all about family, the importance of them, and doing the thing that you love most to ensure that they have a good life alongside you. And then, in return, they'll be there for you when you need them most, especially in your dying moments, because you'd have been working for their future. A mindset that it seems Cooper actually has as he's looking to make money for himself and Ariana. However, what we saw with Monty was that he was in a hospital bed, all alone with none of his daughters nearby. This is because he'd never really given his family the time of day and the true care and attention that they wanted and needed. All he cared about was business. Tommy seeing Monty like that, staring the Grim Reaper directly in the face, was something that made him enter a reflective state. That also paired with the fact that the Cartel were throwing their weight around and telling Tommy on the phone that they had eyes and ears everywhere, and that they also had an army that would be able to retaliate if they wanted to. It made Tommy become a bit more reflective and withdrawn. Tommy wasn't initially too concerned over the death of the pickup driver that got caught in the crossfire, but it was only when the Cartel arranged to meet with him and mentioned that they knew that Monty might not be around for that much longer that he got frightened. This would also explain why the Cartel were watching Aynsley and Tommy when he picked her up a couple of episodes back. They're on constant watch, and I think it's going to be something that comes back to get Tommy in the finale. With Monty, the figurehead, now being dead, the Cartel might use that as their opportunity to strike and get revenge, because the man that makes the decisions will no longer be around. There was one positive with Tommy though. He became VP of Operations by Monty moments before he died, so he could well be getting that promotion. But the downside was Rebecca, somebody who became enemy number one for Tommy because she was looking to pin the blame for the Medina's death on his son Cooper, was recruited and was assigned the position of VP of Exploration, something that Tommy didn't feel she was qualified for. So I imagine we're going to be seeing the both of them working together and navigating a hostile space. I also imagine the space will be even more hostile than usual because Monty needed to sort the leases out in case anything happened to him, and he didn't. So a lot of things are going to be up in the air now. The meaning of the ending. The final thing that we saw in the closing moments of the episode was Tommy walking out the back of his house with no shoes on, something which to me showed that he was in a state of shock. Tommy is always a well-composed man, but after receiving a phone call from Cammy and us not hearing exactly what was said, the act of him walking outside with nothing on his feet made me think that his thoughts were somewhere else. He was admiring a wolf or a coyote that was looking right back at him, and whilst he was fixating on it, it got shot by his neighbour. The wolf didn't see it coming, and within seconds it was dead. This to me was a moment that was symbolic of Monty's death. Monty was like the wolf, the fierce predator that was the head of the company that felt like he would take a lot of beating in order to get knocked down. However, with him being killed by something that was completely out of his control and in an instance, he was no more. So the wolf being killed exactly like that felt like a moment that shone a light on that and reflected Monty now being dead. Tommy just stood there looking on in shock, and I think he now knows that dark times are on the horizon. He's lost his best friend, and there's now a weakness present, so his next moves are going to be interesting to follow. Cooper and Ariana. Cooper and Ariana didn't have that much of an involvement in this episode, but we saw that they went against the warning that God was giving them by constantly being interrupted by people at the door, and they were finally intimate with one another. It was during this episode that we saw Cooper trying to build a future, and tapping into that mindset that Jerry was saying Monty should have. Cooper bargained for $1 million in settlement for the death of Ariana's husband, and it feels like he's going to be using some of that money in order to set up his own operation before eventually going for the big bucks at Wolf Camp Shale. The Wolfcamp Shell is the richest oil field in the world, but it requires a $10 million investment, and people don't want to take the risk in order to drill and come up dry. So instead, before Cooper goes in with that strategy, he wants to clear Forkfield and get expired leases on existing wells collectively, which will ultimately make them worth something when they're together. And then, once he's got enough money from that, go to Wolfcamp Shale and drill there with the hopes of making a lot of money, but being smart with it and knowing when to get out. He's doing this because he wants himself and Ariana to have a nice future together. Something that she didn't want him to solely work for because she didn't know exactly what they were and if they'd even be together. The ending of this episode getting a heavy focus of Cooper laying down the foundations of his operation and him not even having a business card but it being successful with his first client showed that this was going to be something that would lean into the next season of the show and be a story that likely continues. We know that he wants more than to be a worm, and this is him putting in the hard work to give his new family the life that he feels they deserve. Angela and Aynsley. I'm getting a bit tired of moaning about these two and the lack of purpose that they have, and the odd storylines that they feature in. But I'm starting to feel like both Aynsley and Angela could both be used as pawns in the cartel's move for power in the area. We heard directly from the cartel that they had eyes and ears everywhere, and that was something that worried Tommy. So with Angela leaving Tommy a note saying that she was going off to the old folks and him not being with her, and Aynsley being there too, I'm starting to wonder if the timing of Monty being killed will play into Angela and Aynsley being taken. There was a point in the episode where Tommy phoned his wife and daughter separately, and he did it right after he got the shocking reminder of family being the most important thing in the world. With those two people being the most important ones in his life, it was almost like it was teasing us that something could now go wrong for one of them or both of them. My review of the episode. I thought this was just an okay episode of the show. With the previous episode ending with a large explosion killing a member of the cartel and compromising the amount of product that they were going to be getting, I thought revenge would be at the top of their list of things to do, but it wasn't at all. I expected there to maybe be a bit more of a retaliation compared to what we got, and for us to maybe see the element of danger being more present. I thought it was a bold move for the show to kill off Monty, but it worked really well. It didn't only serve as a reminder of what could happen to Tommy if he didn't get his priorities in order, but it also weakened Tommy moving forward, as the cartel will probably look to move in even more now. I do hope this show gets a second season, because it's a really entertaining series with some strong performances, especially the likes of Tommy Norris, Nate, Cooper, Monty, and Ariana, and I'd like to see their stories develop more. It's an industry that I'm not too familiar with, and it's definitely provided an insight into a world that I knew nothing about before the show aired. I was hoping that the penultimate episode would be a bit more eventful, and it would feel like we were heading into an action-filled season finale, but I didn't get that feeling at all. I don't doubt that the season finale will be strong, and there'll be a few twists up Sheridan's sleeve with the threat of the cartel, but I would have just liked it to have felt like we were building towards some kind of conclusion or a crescendo. With a week to go until the season 1 finale, it's going to be a shame when it does come to a close, because it's been one of the best things on TV right now, so let's just hope we get a season 2. So, there you have it, Landman episode 9, Ending Explained. If you want to see more episodes of Landman being broken down, then click on the card in the top corner, or alternatively you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. What did you think of this episode? How do you think season 1 will end? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video and I'll see you in the next one.